Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 4, Transcendental Knowledge, text number 9. Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo veti tattvataha tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti sorjuna. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The Lord's descent from his transcendental abode is already explained in the 6th verse. One who can understand the truth of the appearance of the personality of Godhead is already liberated from material bondage, and therefore he returns to the kingdom of God immediately after quitting this present material body. Such liberation of the living entity from material bondage is not at all easy. The impersonalists and the yogis attain liberation only after much trouble and many births. Even then, the liberation they achieve, merging into the impersonal Brahma Jyoti of the Lord, is only partial, and there is the risk of returning again to this material world. But the devotee, simply by understanding the transcendental nature of the body and activities of the Lord, attains the abode of the Lord after ending this body and does not run the risk of returning again to this material world. In the Brahma Samhita, it is stated that the Lord has many forms and incarnations, Advaitam, Achyutam, Anadim, Ananta Rupam. Although there are many transcendental forms of the Lord, they are still one and the same, Supreme Personality of Godhead. One has to understand this fact with conviction, although it is incomprehensible to mundane scholars and empiric philosophers. As stated in the Vedas, Eko Devo Nitya Leela Nurakto Bhakta Vyapi Hridhi Antaratma. The one Supreme Personality of Godhead is eternally gauged in many transcendental forms in relationships with his unalloyed devotees. This Vedic version is confirmed in this verse of the Gita personally by the Lord. He who accepts this truth on the strength of the authority of the Vedas and of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and who does not waste time in philosophical speculations, attains the highest perfectional stage of liberation. Simply by accepting this truth on faith, one can without a doubt attain liberation. The Vedic version, Tattvamasi, is actually applied in this case. Anyone who understands Lord Krishna to be the Supreme, or who says unto the Lord, "You are the same Supreme Brahman, the Personality of Godhead," is certainly liberated instantly, and consequently his entrance into the transcendental association of the Lord is guaranteed. In other words, such a faithful devotee of the Lord attains perfection, and this is confirmed by the following Vedic assertion. Tameva viditva timrityumeti nanya pantha vidyate ayanaya. One can attain the perfect stage of liberation from birth and death simply by knowing the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There is no alternative, because anyone who does not understand Lord Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead is surely in the mode of ignorance. Consequently, he will not attain salvation simply, so to speak, by licking the outer surface of the bottle of honey or by interpreting the Bhagavad Gita according to mundane scholarship. Such empiric philosophers may assume very important roles in the material world, but they are not necessarily eligible for liberation. Such puffed up mundane scholars have to wait for the causeless mercy of the devotee of the Lord. One should therefore cultivate Krishna consciousness with faith and knowledge, and in this way attain perfection. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport.
Translation. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna.
Janma karma cha me divyam evam jo veti tattata takta dehang punarjanma naiti mameti sojana. This is a very important verse. Tapta dehang punarjama naiti. Our problem is this transmigration of the soul, one body to another. This is going on. Because we do not know how to get out of it. Modern education, they do not know even what is soul, what is this body, how the transmigration of the soul taking place, all blunt. There is no educational institution all over the world to understand this science. Although it is the most important science for the human being. Tapta dehang punarjanma naiti. No more transmigration of the soul. The soul, in its original spiritual body, can be transferred from this material world to the spiritual world. And there is the spiritual world, as I have already explained, that is 3 times creation of the Lord. This is only 1/4, this material world. So, our problem of human life is to get out of this material clutches and transfer ourselves to the spiritual world. That is real problem. Not this food problem, that problem. This will go on. So long you are in the material world, such problems will come and go. They are not permanent. That is explained in the Bhagavad Gita. Agumapaina anitya tanga titikhasya bharat. These problems, they will come and they will go. Just like seasonal changes. Matra sparshastra kaunteya sitosna sukha dukkada. Agamapaina anitya tang titikhasya bharat. That is real knowledge. We should not be disturbed by the material problems. You cannot avoid them. So long, just like if you are in the winter season, how you can avoid cold, infection by cold, or affection by cold? You cannot avoid. That does not mean because the season is very cool and you cannot take bath. Now you must take bath. That is Aryan civilization. Still in India you will find in the villages severe cold. Still the people are taking bath early in the morning. They are accustomed. But now you are giving up. Now you are rising at 7 o'clock because you are advanced in education. And if there is Mongol Aratri, it is nuisance. This is our advancement of civilization at the present moment. But if you go in the villages, you will find that the villagers rising early in the morning, they are taking bath, changing cloth, and chanting Hare Krishna as far as possible. Still, in the mass of people of India, the Krishna consciousness is still existing. It is not yet lost. And they believe in the next birth, next life, past life. They believe in God, in Krishna. They are satisfied with their position. But the modern leaders, they do not like it. They want to make them intoxicated so that they can work like an ass for the morsel of food. But this is not the problem. The real problem is here. stated that you should stop the disease of birth and death. That is real problem. Takta deham punarjanma. The human life is meant for making a solution of the repetition of birth and death. That is real problem. Janma mrityu jara vyadhi dukkha dosanu darshanam. We are finding fault with so many things. But really we should find fault with this process of repetition of birth and death. People are now being educated in this way that there is no more life. You have got this life and you enjoy the senses as far as possible. That is Gnostic theory. This Gnostic or atheism, there were many saints in India also. One of them is Charbak. He is very famous atheist. His philosophy is hedonism. Rinam kritya ghritang pibet, javat jivet sukhang jivet. His theory is, because in India the luxury is to eat something which is cooked in ghee, luchi, puri, halwa. So, Charbak Muni says that you take loan from your friends if you have no money and eat as much as possible ghee. Rinam kritya ghritang pivet. Javat jivet sukham jivet. And so long you live by gratifying your senses. Here sukham means sense gratification. But according to Vedic civilization, sukham atantikang jat tat otindriya grahyam. What is the actual happiness that is beyond your senses, not sense gratification. But because we are materially absorbed, we think indriyani pararaho, indriya, the senses, all in all, to satisfy the senses, that is sukh, that is happiness. And those who are little disgusted with sense gratification, indrani pararahu indriyabha paramana, they are mental speculators. They write poetries and utopian theories, this philosophy, that philosophy. In this way they satisfy the mind. But that is also not happiness, mental happiness. Manorathena asato dhavato vai. If you become satisfied by mental happiness, then you will have to come down again. Asato. Asato ma asadagama. Real life is, don't stay in this temporary world, but go to the real world. Parastasmatu bhava anya, bhakta bhakta sanat. You'll find all these things in Bhagavad Gita. So, either on the bodily plane or on the mental plane, you cannot be happy. That is not possible. But if you want to be happy, then you have to come to the spiritual platform and engage in spiritual activities. Sukham mattantikam jat tat otindriya grayam. Otindriya means above the material platform of sensual and mental activities. So, spiritual activities means devotional service. Spiritual activities means devotional service. Activities in relationship with the Supreme Personality of God. Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga means, as I have repeatedly explained, that you have to forget your identification with the matter. Sarvapadi vinimuktam. You have to forget your body as American, Indian, Brahmin, Kshatriya, Shudra, Hindu, Muslim. That you have to forget. Aham Brahmasmi. I am spirit soul. That is real identification. And when the spirit soul is active, sometimes the Mayavadi philosophers, they think, now I have realized that I am not this body, I am not matter, I am spirit soul. So now I become Narayan. I have become the Supreme. No, that is also mistake. When you realize that Supreme is the Supreme Brahma, Parabrahma, I am part and parcel of the Supreme, I am also Brahma, but I am not the Supreme Brahma. Therefore, my business is to serve Parabrahma. That is real spiritual life. That is the beginning of spiritual life. Brahma bhuta prasannatma na sochati na kankhati samas sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhakti labati para. Parabhakti. Parabhakti, that is real spiritual life. Para and apara. Apara bhakti means on the material platform. Generally, the deity worship. This is the beginning. But as you go on worshipping the deity, you realize your spiritual identity. Then you do not see the deity as made of stone or wood. You see directly the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And you can talk, you can receive inspiration. This is the beginning. Achayamanga harai jappujang saddhyahate natad bhakteshu charneshu sabhakta prakita smitaha. We should learn how to do good to the people in general. They have forgotten their relationship with God. You should be sympathetic for them, that they are suffering on account of their forgetfulness of God. Let us do some service to them. Invoke, awaken them. Awaken their Krishna consciousness. That is Krishna consciousness movement. It is the best welfare activities to the human society. Because he has forgotten Krishna, he is suffering. And if you awaken his Krishna consciousness, then he will be happy. Just like a rich man's son, he has forgotten that his father is very rich, or his father has left immense property. But forgetting his real position, he is loitering in the street, hungry. You can call him, all right, to take some food. That is not real benefit, that is temporary. But if you awaken his real consciousness that he is the son of a very rich man, his father has got immense property, why don't you go back to your father and be happy? That is Krishna consciousness movement. That is stated here. Janma karma chame dibbam juveti tattata. One has to understand Krishna tattata in truth, not superficially. What is Krishna? Krishna is the supreme leader. Nitya nityanam chetana chetana.